So in this video, we're going to show you how to take one of your Duda buttons and have it trigger Stripe checkout. So here we have a Duda button here, regular Duda button, and if I click there, it opens Stripe Legacy Checkout. Now, Legacy Checkout is the one that pops up on your website. Stripe has a new product called V2 Checkout that will, when clicked, you'll get redirected, or your customer will get redirected to checkout.stripe.com. We work with that too. That's how it works, and the rest of the video will show you how. Hi, in this video tutorial, we're going to show you how to make a Duda button that matches the other button styles on your Duda website. If you don't like the default Stripe button, let's say you want to add monthly memberships. This is an example of like a yoga site. And let's say you have this cool subscribe button here, and this is just a normal Duda button. You went to widgets and you dragged in a button, and then you styled the button a little bit. So here's our Duda button, and if we publish this page, we will see on the live site, if I click on that button, it just goes back to the home page. Nothing happens. But what we want to happen is for a payment area to pop up so you can collect payment. So we're going to go into Paid Members app, and what you're going to do is go to Membership and Payment buttons. Another way to get there is set up checklist and create your payment buttons. And now this will work for subscription buttons, which are recurring subscriptions, or one-time payments, either one. I'll just use subscriptions as an example. We have a couple different kinds of payment buttons for Stripe. The legacy button, which opens up in your website. I kind of like that one. People stay on your website. Or the newer Stripe Checkout V2, which will take them to checkout.stripe.com, to another website for payment, and then back to your site. So let's just make a normal standard legacy subscribe button. I'll click payment button. So you don't have to type everything again. We save your payment buttons. Click up here, my save payment buttons, and we'll list all your payment buttons. Usually the newest one is on top. You also want to give it a name, and then you can identify it more easily. You can click edit, and then everything you've already made about that button is saved, all these fields. So here's my basic monthly subscription. I would usually put in button text here, but since we're using the existing button, we don't need to. I'll click Advanced Options. Okay, there is a checkbox here. Use my Duda button. Yes, I want to use one of my existing Duda payment buttons to trigger the payment form. So check that checkbox, and then something will open up. It's going to ask you just for the ID of that button. So where do you get the ID of the button? Well, that's why we made the video. Okay, so click on Duda, and then when you go to the button, right-click on the button and go to Edit HTML CSS. Click on that. Okay, you might see a few IDs here. Like there's an ID down here, that's not it. There's an ID here, that's not it. It's actually the first ID in this. It'll probably be on the top. It'll be like a big block of code. And at the very end of that larger block of code, yeah, it starts with like an A tag here. And it's right here, this ID, it'll look like a number. It's really a string, but it looks like a number. And you just copy that. I'm going to close this. And that's all we need, is just that one number, which is a unique ID of that button. And then click Create Button, and that'll create the button code. And if I copy that to the clipboard, I'm going to go here and then just click on Widgets and drag in HTML. So now I would be really careful and just drag this right below the button, because sometimes this HTML might be a little bit hard to find when you want to edit it. So I drag it as close as I can and right below the button. Add your custom HTML here, and I'm going to just paste that code in and then click Update. Cool. And then I'm going to close out this box, and we're done. So now I'm just going to click Republish to republish the site. Let's check this out. And now when I go to the live site, and I find that subscribe button, if I click it, something magic will happen, and a Stripe checkout button will open. And this is how you can put your customers on a recurring subscription. Let's say you want to change the style of this button. So let me click on it like this and click on Design. And then let's say I want this button to be a different color. Like I don't like pink anymore, and I want it to be blue. Well, you don't have to change the code whatsoever. You now have a blue button. Whoops. And if I publish it, the button's changed, but you don't have to change anything. The code's there and the ID is the same. So now, even though you change your button, if I click on it, it's still tied to that specific ID, to that button. And there you go.